Hey, this is Hal Fader. Thanks for joining. Today in this short video, I want to discuss the differences between a Main Street transaction and an M&A or a mergers and acquisitions transaction. Now, a lot of folks will jump right to pricing. You know, the Main Street is under 2 million and the M&A is over 2 million. And it's not as simple as that. There are lots of different dimensions that separate a Main Street deal from an M&A deal. And I want to get into that very quickly. First of all, let's just talk about the buyer. The buyer for a Main Street business is an individual, typically, maybe a first-time business owner. It could be a family that's looking to move from corporate to business ownership. Whereas an M&A buyer is typically a more strategic buyer. There are private equity groups. There are family offices, and there are corporate acquirers. So these are businesses that are buying businesses as opposed to maybe the individual. The motivation of the buyer is also different. Whereas the Main Street is looking to replace income or buy a lifestyle type business, whereas the M&A buyer is all about strategic growth. It's about market expansion. It's about synergies with the present business that they own. You hear them talk about a platform or an add-on to an existing business to go after scale, reduce costs, achieve marketing synergies across different platforms. So the decision drivers are different, whereas the Main Street would be a personal income driver, and there are different levels of risk tolerance with that, whereas the M&A buyer is more about return on investment or EBITDA. You'll hear it, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And we'll talk about that in a minute. There is a size difference. Main Street typically, 100,000, 200,000 to say 2 million or 3 million, whereas lower middle or mergers and acquisitions start to get into the 3, 4, 5 million. They're different classifications. Again, the important thing is the buyer more than the price, the type of the buyer, and the marketing behind the offering. Valuation. Main Street is typically seller discretionary earnings. You've heard me talk about this on other videos. This is a recast of the income statement, adding back the owner's salary to get a cash flow and then apply the multiple, whereas the M&A is an EBITDA calculation. So the salary stays into the calculation. There's a multiple of EBITDA, which includes the owner's salary. I start to see around $1 million of cash flow when the M&A buyers start to get interested. And the reason that it's $1 million or $1.2 million is they want to buy the business and have enough cash flow left over to pay a manager. So they're not buying the business to run the business like in Main Street. They're buying the business as an investment, as a return on equity and in turn on ROI. Okay, so that's a key difference. The multiples are different. So this is a measure of risk. Main Street will be a 2, a 3, a 4, maybe a 5, and then you get into 5, 10, 15, 20 on the M&A transactions. Let's see, strategic, operational complexity. There's owner dependency, more owner dependency in a Main Street type of setting, whereas the management team in place is, more independent, and the owner of the business can take a vacation or not even be involved at all, and the owner and the business runs itself. The marketing approach is different. There's different flat platforms for Main Street. You got Biz Buy Sell being the largest biz equity, businessforsale.com, whereas your M&A targets are the private equity companies, the family offices, the corporate acquirers, and that's a different marketing platform and campaign altogether. That's more of a targeted outreach as opposed to reactive marketing on a public platform. The time to close is also different. It could be 6 to 9 months for a main street. On average, it could be 9 to 15 to 2 years on a big M&A transaction. So that's a little bit of education on Main Street versus marketing a business that's an M&A type of business. And I wanted to spell out the differences because there's some misnomer about just being the price. It's really a buyer difference that distinguishes between Main Street and merger and acquisition. All right, thanks for joining. I'm available. Give me a call if you've got any questions. I'd love to chat with you. All right, marketing different for mainstream and merger and acquisitions. Take care.